Okay, this video tutorial looks at measurement, and more specifically we're going to look at different units of measurement and then how you convert between them. So the first measurement that we're going to look at is called length. Now length is the distance between 2 points, and it's commonly measured in units such as millimeters, centimeters, meters or kilometers. Now in order to convert between these units, we simply multiply or divide by a power of 10. So that could be 10, it could be 100, or it could be 1000. Now obviously 100 is simply 10 squared, and 1000 is simply 10 to the power of 3. So there's a diagram that we can use to help us do this, and it's down here. Okay, it's got a table, and then it's got a bit of a flow chart that shows what we do. Now, if we are going from millimeters and we are going to centimeters, meters, or kilometers, then we're simply going to divide. So if we go this way, we are dividing. And if we are going the other way, okay, from kilometers and we're going smaller, we're actually multiplying. Okay, multiplying. And we'll go through a few examples of how to do that. So another unit of measurement that we're going to look at is actually trying to measure area. Now area is the space inside a shape, and it's measured in the same units as you would for length, only now we are doing it to a power of 2, or we are squaring the units. For example, instead of being just millimeters, the area might be millimeters squared. It might be centimeters squared, meters squared, or kilometers squared. So it's going to be the same units that you would use for the length of the side of that area, but the of that shape, sorry, but the area is actually units squared. And when you convert between the units of area, you still multiply by your powers of 10 like we did before, right? But this time you square whatever you're multiplying by. So as an example, millimeters to centimeters squared, or millimeters squared to centimeters squared, if we're going to do this way, we divide by 10 squared, because normally with length you would just divide by 10, but with area it's going to be 10 squared. If we're going from centimeters to meters, normally we would divide by 100, but because we're looking at area, it's got to be 100 squared. Now this has hectares in it, but I'm going to skip hectares. If I wanted to go from meters squared to kilometers squared, normally, if I was just going from meters to kilometers, I'd divide by 1000. But in this particular case, I'm going to divide by 1000 squared. So we're doing the exact same conversions we did before, but we're just squaring the multiplier. Something else you might be asked to find out when we're looking at measurement is volume. And volume is the amount of space a solid shape occupies, okay, or a 3D shape. And it's measured in the same units as the length of the side of the shape. Right? But now we're going to do our units to the power of 3, okay, or cubed. Okay, so area is squared, volume is cubed. And again, you can see in our example that if we're going from millimeters to centimeters, we divide by 10, but in this particular case, we're going to cube it. If we're going from centimeters to meters, we divide by 100, but in this particular case, we cube it. Because volume is in cubed, okay, its units are cubed, we must cube our multipliers. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is time. Now, time is commonly measured in seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, or years. But it can also be measured in very large timescales, so decades, centuries, or millennia, or very small timescales, so milliseconds, microseconds, and nanoseconds. And we can use the diagram that we've got down here to help us with our conversions. Okay, so let's look at some example questions. Our first question says, what is 12 centimeters in millimeters? Now remember, if we're converting centimeters to millimeters, we actually times by 10, so our answer becomes 120 millimeters. Our second question is, what is 20 meters squared in centimeters squared and kilometers squared? Well, the first thing, Remember, if you're converting meters to centimeters, you need to times by 100, but this time we're going to be timesing by 100 squared. Now 100 squared is actually 10,000, so this becomes 200,000 centimeters squared. But if we are going to convert from meters squared to kilometers squared, normally from meters to kilometers we divide by 1,000. This time we need to divide by 1,000 squared. So 1,000 squared is 1 million. We're going to divide 20 by 1 million. That's going to give us 0.00002 kilometers squared. Correct. In our next question it says, what is 1,500,000 centimeters cubed in meters cubed? Now if we're going from centimeters cubed, normally centimeters to meters, we divide by 100. In this particular case we're dividing by 100 cubed. Now 100 cubed is going to be 1 million. We're dividing 1.5 million by 1 million. This is going to give us 1.5 meters cubed. In our next question it says, what is 0.7 seconds in milliseconds? Now remember, there are 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second, so this must be 700 milliseconds. And our last question says, what is 150 years in millennia? Now remember, a millennia is 1,000 years, so 150 years out of 1,000 years is actually 0.15 millennia. Okay, so here are some practice questions I'd like you to have a go at. Please feel free to pause the video, and once you think you've got the answers correct, continue the video and we'll go through and check how you went. Okay, so in our first question, it says, what is 2,200 centimeters in meters? Now remember, centimeters to meters, we are dividing by 100, so this would give us 22 meters. In our next question, normally meters to centimeters you times by 100, but in this particular case we're timesing by 100 squared. So we've got 45,000 times 100 squared is going to give us 450 million centimeters squared. In our next question it says 2,260,000 centimeters cubed into meters cubed. Now normally centimeters to meters we would divide by 100, but in this particular case we need to divide by 100 cubed, which will give us 2.26 meters cubed. In this particular question it says, what is 0.35 seconds in microseconds? Now remember that there is 1 million microseconds in a second, so this is going to be 350,000 microseconds. And in our last question it says, what is 1,600 years in centuries? Now remember there's 100 years in a century, so this would be 16 centuries.